Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you as always for your tweets. Craig Burley, Frank Leboeuf, Julien Laurens with us. Frank, did you enjoy your New Year's Eve dinner? This is, of course, you had the oysters delivered as you were with us on New Year's Eve.
Yes, thank you very much. The oysters were perfect, and the red wine, fantastic. Everything was perfect. We chilled out, it was only a tete-a-tete, so thank you very much for asking. Fantastic New Year's Eve.
Oh, lovely
Happy New Year to
tete-a-tete.
all of you.
Craig, how did you celebrate the evening?
Went to bed 10:30.
And then I saw you spent New Year's Day filming your neighbours.
Yeah, it was brought to my attention that my neighbour, who's not who's not somebody who would normally work on roofs, was spotted out my window, just out here, this side, and he was on top of his roof, right up the top with all these harnesses on. And I can tell you, Dan, it's a heck of a drop off down to the back, to the woods at the back. And I was like, oh my God, man! I mean, this guy, they just do everything. Does everything around his house, but I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, it's just dangerous. There was all these ropes and everything he had up for his safety. I don't know.
You didn't
He's
offer
not
to
a
help?
roofer. Huh?
You didn't offer to help at all?
Jesus God, he'd never get me up there in 100 years. Never, ever, ever. I mean, he's a businessman. He's not a roofer. I mean, honestly, I was scared for his safety. So and he was back up there today again. I looked out the window today and the ropes were out again. I was like, boy. So he's obviously doesn't want to pay somebody to do the job, take your life in your hands.
Wow. Imagine Stevie on top of a roof. That would be quite
Oh,
a
God.
sight. What is the importance?
Have to be a strong roof.
Jules, what's the importance of having a manager that's won trophies at the top level? I feel that Pochettino is not a good signing for PSG as he doesn't know how to win. He could be like Bielsa or David Moyes or Sarri, good coaches at certain areas, but not elite coaches. Wow, I'm sure Sarri's happy he's in that list.
Yeah, Sarri, who just won a Serie A title, by the way, last season with Juventus. Yeah, I mean, no, of course, that's one of the side of the argument, and I think you could also say that in France with PSG, it's very, very, very likely that Pochettino will win his first trophy, and then maybe once that pressure is off his shoulder, then he can go on and win more, and people will stop saying to him, oh yeah, but you've never won anything, so how do you know this, how do you know that? You can still be a very good manager. There's reasons why he hasn't won anything before. Of course, he could have had won stuff with Spurs, and maybe part of it was his fault, but certainly not all of it. But yeah, I can see the side of the argument. I still don't think that just purely that makes him a good or a bad signing for PSG. There's obviously a lot of other things to take in consideration before judging him, but that's one side of it, and I think also part of why he wanted to take that job was because he knew that he was going to be successful there. Of course he will be, and that maybe that's also what he wanted. So at least that sort of the sticker that he had on his back saying, oh look at him, he's never won anything, that will go pretty quickly now.
Do you think it's a good appointment, Craig?
Well, as Joe said, where are we judging this? Because apart from the year Monaco won it, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last 7 or 8 years, that apart, PSG have won the league. And in fact, one of the years they won it by 30 points, or I think more. And more often than not, it's been something like between 10 and 13 or 14 points. So where are we judging? Are we judging on the man management of the egos that are there? Because, that's one of the things that was that looked at with Tuchel, and then of course, is the obvious is the Champions League. But I think first and foremost, we look at how he handles and sets up the team, and then, like most, he won't be judged by winning the French title. It'll be what kind of assault can they have in Europe. But people are too quick to just talk about all these other coaches like Pochettino and like Bielsa and like Moyes and the others. You've got to judge managers and coaches sometimes with the clubs that they're at. Bielsa's been at some big clubs, and I think it was Chile he managed as well, if my memory serves me right, during the 2010 World Cup. But he did get promotion with Leeds United. Now, Leeds have been out of the big time for years and years and years, and David Moyes was at Everton, who hadn't, had success in the mid-80s under Howard Kendall, but really, apart from the odd FA Cup, that's been it. And, Tottenham have had lots of good managers who have huffed and puffed, but they're not a club who predominantly have won things. Maybe that will change. So you can't just look at the manager. I mean, people will say, well, Leicester City. Well, Leicester City was a phenomenon. Everything just clicked for Ranieri. That team just clicked, and it was brilliant. But we'll probably never see that again at this elite level. So we have to. I mean, if Pochettino goes in at PSG, wins nothing, then he's up against it. He's behind the 8 ball if that happens. If he's there a couple of years, wins nothing, he's back down the rungs of the ladder. But I doubt that that's going to be the case, and he'll be judged in the Champions League.
Frank, we talked about you, Pochettino, on the show, so we move on to, if the season stopped today, who would be your player of the season so far in the Premier League, Frank? Oh, you love a player of the season.
Yes, fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Well, you know, the first name that comes out for me, it's Jimmy Vardy, because I think that nobody was expecting him to keep on scoring goals, and nobody considers maybe him as one of the best strikers in the world. But he shows to the world, you know, playing for a team that everybody considers maybe not one of the biggest teams in the Premier League, that he is still there and he's still a threat for any defense, and he does what he knows the best, scoring goals, and he feels the goal. He feels everything, and he's a fantastic player for me, and he shows that every game that he plays.
Jules?
Do you know?
Oh, go on, Craig.
Go on, Jules. No, go on, Jules.
I mean, I like Jimmy Vardy. I just don't think Jimmy Vardy has been the best player in the season so far by a mile, despite all the goals. And let's not forget that more than half of those goals are on penalties. I think either you go Bruno Fernandes and you sort of not really look at maybe the big games in the Champions League, but also, you know, against City, against Arsenal, against Chelsea at home, where he didn't really do enough or do much. But his impact on that team, his influence has been phenomenal, exceptional. He's a wonderful player, and if United are where they are now, just behind Liverpool in the table, it's because of him. Or you go down the either Son or Kane's way, really, because the way they've been playing, they've been unstoppable at times. I would go for Harry Kane simply because I don't think I've seen a number 9 who could also play as a number 10, and someone as complete as him who can score so freely and assist so freely as well, who has so much ability technically, and who's still so strong, can hold the ball up. There's nothing he cannot do. So for me, Harry Kane, once again, is showing this season that he's the best in this league.
Go on, Craig.
Oh, I couldn't disagree, and I'll throw another name in there. He's not fashionable, but Hojbjerg has done an amazing job for Tottenham. It's very underrated what he's done in there. It's just not pretty, and he's not a brilliant passer of the ball, and he's not somebody's going to get you goals, but he fills the space brilliantly. And I think Bruno Fernandes is just, you know, I suppose if you take Vardy out of Leicester and if you take Kane out of Spurs, it's the same argument. You take Fernandes out of Man United, and you're just losing an awful lot. So I wouldn't disagree with any of them. I just think Fernandes has special little moments in games. The interesting thing is, if the league finished today, I do believe off the back of yesterday, Daniel, that Liverpool and Man United would have to share the trophy.
This is your joint top.
As joint top. I've never heard so much nonsense. I mean, how desperate are these people that they're now saying they're joint top with Liverpool when indeed they're in second place? I mean, that's the desperation levels that they're at, these Man United fans. It's quite scary. Look, it's a title race for the time being. I still believe that the top 2, in no particular order, will be City and Liverpool. But it's a title race, and it's a title race for a reason, and this is what some of these United fans and others should remember. It's not because they've been brilliant, it's because City and Liverpool have slipped way below, and I mean way below, the standards that they have set over the last 3 years, because at this point in the season, those two almost had 50 points. Right, they won the league with 100 points, 98 and 99 respectively. So this is a very concertina Premier League title race because those two are way off the standards that they once set. some fans should remember that.
How did we segue from player of the season to your Manchester United rant?
Well, because I saw it.
But,
I
you know
saw
what?
if the season stopped today, who would be the player of the year? And I thought, if the season stopped today, would we have to share the trophy between Liverpool and United, who have anointed themselves joint top, according to some of the fans, even though the goal difference is much worse. And by the way, City can
I was
go 1
wondering
point
how long it would
behind
take.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was wondering how long it would take Greg to let this one go. And clearly, as soon as he's got half of an opportunity, he went for it.
Well,
Yes, you've worked with him long enough, Jules. Stevie did an awesome job commentating Rangers against Celtic this morning. Old Firm is a bucket list. Which stadium has better environment, Ibrox or Celtic Park? More importantly, where's the best bars for post-match pints? A huge win for Rangers, Craig, to stop your old side doing 10 in a row, it seems now.
yeah, I can only imagine the Celtic fans being going apoplectic, because this is such a huge season for them historically, and finally Rangers under Steven Gerrard have got themselves a half-decent team, and they've put a great string of results together and hardly dropped any points in the league. I think they're almost, I think it's 59 or 60 or something that they've got now. Celtic 19 points behind with 3 games in hand. It was strange to see an Old Firm game with no fans in it, because we're just used to playing in it with the atmosphere that is normally so intimidating. But to answer the question, and I'm not saying this because I was a former Celtic player, and I know Jules has been to the stadium recently, I think it was his first time, but Celtic Park is hugely impressive, the way that the stands are just the steepness of them, and how it just encompasses the stadium, and it just makes for a fantastic atmosphere. Ibrox is built slightly differently, where they built it as almost 4 stands, and then they, as an afterthought, they filled in the corners. So their stadium's slightly different. Celtic Park is banked way more steeper. 60,000 are there just above it. Fantastic atmosphere. And I wouldn't be able to tell you what bars to go to, because it would depend what side of the fence you sit on, what bars you can go in, and whether you may or may not come out of those aforementioned bars in one state.
Would you, if you went to either of those bars now, Craig, who would hate you more, Celtic fans or Rangers fans?
I don't know. I mean, look, we all know
You
this
upset
is
Celtic
broadcasting
fans because you were critical of them when you were a commentator, you're critical of all sides, and they felt you should have been loyal, yes? And that upset them.
Well, I was player of the year when I was there, as you know.
There it is,
so
ding,
there
ding,
was
ding,
no
ding, every
problems
extra
with the
time.
fans. So, well, you're not going to dislike you when they vote you for player of the year, but so clearly I had a good time there. But obviously, when you move into broadcasting, and I'm not alone as a former player, that when you don't curry favour, then you become somebody who is, surplus to their requirements of people that they like. So I don't know. I would try not to frequent either. Just try and get on with it, and don't like talking soccer when I'm out, as you well know.
I do indeed.
Do you agree though, Jules? That stadium, I know you were there recently. It's an impressive stadium, isn't it?
It was incredible, and to be fair, it was my first time, as you said, in a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, for the game against Lille in the Europa League, and even with no fans in there, it's just incredible. And from the statue outside to all that green everywhere. I mean, even the cash point is green, and it's just like everything was so amazing and so perfect. And it's such an old, it's an old stadium, really. It's a lot of concrete and stuff, but still you can feel the soul of it and of the club, and everything was just, it was fantastic experience.
All those media appearances just keep going to the cash point, don't you, Jules? Just keeps coming. What would be a bigger surprise this year? Manchester United winning the title, Jules, or Barca finishing out of the top 4?
I think United winning the title is still a bigger surprise. Listen, I think all of us here could agree that right now it doesn't look likely that Barca could finish top 4. There are certainly 4 teams better than them in La Liga, and unless Messi starts getting back to the level that he was a couple of years ago, even at some point last season, he's the only one who can take this team out of the very average, which is what they are now, unfortunately. And we saw that again in the game yesterday. To to be in the top four and finishing with Real Madrid, with Atletico Madrid, who are certainly will be above them anyway. And then even teams like Sevilla, even teams like Villarreal, even other teams could easily finish above them. So the biggest surprise, I think, would be United winning the title because, like Craig said, because City and Liverpool are still big favourite, even at this stage of the season, even after all those points that they dropped. So I think for United to beat them both, plus to beat Leicester and to beat Chelsea and to beat all the other teams that are in that title race, it would be a bigger surprise than Barca finishing fifth or sixth with an average team, with a bad manager, and all the crises that we've seen in the recent few weeks and months.
Craig, I don't know if you saw the Wolves-Brighton game. Otasowie with a great chance right at the end to give Wolves the victory. And someone asked, what advice would you have for a young player after a heartbreaking miss like that?
I think as a senior player in the dressing room, you just put your arm around them and say, keep your chin up. Just keep going. Just work hard. Keep doing what you're doing. There's no, I don't recall any senior player rollicking a youngster for making a genuine mistake or missing something. I don't ever remember that happening. I mean, yes, for other stuff, but not for that. So no, I wouldn't. My advice to any of the youngsters is that just don't let it get you down, because everybody makes mistakes, and you just roll. And it's how you bounce back from them. And when you go through a career of a decade plus or whatever it is potentially for these guys, then there's going to be a lot. It's not all going to be great days. There's going to be lots of bad days, lots of defeats, lots of mistakes. And it's when you go home after a game, you got to try and put it behind you, brush yourself down, back to training the next couple of days, and then look forward to the next game. Because if you sit and beat yourself up about it every 5 minutes, by the time it gets to the next weekend or the next chance, you're already thinking about it. So just let it wash over and think about it as a long career with lots of highs and lows, and just keep soldiering on. It's quite simple, really.
Would you utter similar sentiments, Frank?
Yes, exactly. Yes, you cannot be mad at somebody who made a mistake, and it's just part of our game, and we have to understand that and accept that. And it's a natural selection between players. Those players who can rebound very quickly, even if they made mistake, because it's not they forget it, but they use it to not do it again. And those who go down because they can't react and because they're so much hammered by what they did. That's maybe between big players and average players, and how you grow up in that in this business.
Final question.
I'll tell you a time when we did, myself included, got angry at a teenage youngster. He might not have been teenage, might have been, I don't know, 18, 19, 20. At Celtic was, and I hope he somehow sees this clip, was a youngster coming through at the time at Celtic called Mark Burchell, a striker who went on to play in England. And he came in one day to the dressing room and let it be known, and it was a very senior dressing room at Celtic at that point. It was the 97-98 season. And he came in and let it be known that he'd signed a new contract, a professional contract, and he'd bought 2 cars. Wow. A big 4x4 for the winter and a flashy sports car for the summer. At which point, myself and about half a dozen other pros attempted to rip his head off for being a Billy Big Time. And so we went through him like a dose of salts to try and get his feet back on the ground. And that was one of the times when a dressing room could maybe talk to a youngster when you think, like, you've scored a couple of goals in the first team, you've got the adulation, you've signed your new contract, feet back in the ground. Never mind the 2 sports cars in the drive or whatever it is. Let's start thinking about the football again here, son, because you're only just in the door. And so I think there are times when, well, certainly there was back in the day, when youngsters would get their collar felt by senior pros, but it wasn't over missing a chance. It was over the old Charlie Big Potatoes. And I hope Burchell sees this somehow.
Final question, Craig. What's your memory of playing matches when it was snowing heavily?
Well, I didn't wear leggings.
All right.
I was ready to come on here tonight and pulverise half of the Arsenal players for wearing those white leggings. But unfortunately, I mean, if you're going to wear leggings, you've got to win, right? It's like if you dye your hair blonde at the World Cup, you've got to play well,
right?
It's the same.
How'd that
it's
work
the same
out?
thing. So if you're going to wear leggings, you've got to have to play well. And Frank, would you have wore those leggings if it snowed? I don't remember you wearing those.
No, of course not. I was wearing, what you call that, long shorts, underneath your shorts.
Yeah.
But nothing
Cycling
like
shorts.
leggings. No, of course not. Yeah, exactly. Cycling shorts, because of tackling. Because of the grass at the time wasn't as good as it is now, and you wanted to protect, because I was bleeding most of the time from my right thigh. So I was wearing that. But to answer to the question, I remember playing a Champions League game in Tromsø, which is in Norway, maybe 500 miles from the North Pole, and we had to stop the game. I think the second half we had to stop the games 3 times because we couldn't see the lines anymore, and we lost 3-2. And it was funny at the end of the day. We won 7-0 the second leg, but it was, it was a nightmare. At the same time, it was funny because we are laughing after the game. How the UEFA allowed us to finish the game. I think we didn't have a good schedule, to cancel it and postpone it.
Good stuff.
Did you see Tierney, Dan?
Did I see Tierney? I saw you tweet that he probably put suntan lotion on before the game.
Well, did you see him? His shorts on, no, half sleeve shirt. Did you see it? Little short sleeve shirt
Scottish
on.
pride in there.
Back to 50. Come on, lads. This is not. We get this every day in Scotland. Did you see him out there? Tough as old boots.
Hey, right. Craig, get back up on your roof. Thank you very much, guys. ESPN FC back on your screen tomorrow. Lots to talk about, including, of course, that big game in the Premier League, Chelsea against Manchester City. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.